And welcome to all the people that are appearing on Zoom. Glad to have you here. Sorry you can't be here in person, but at least you're here. I'd like to welcome the new members. We've got one new member on a slide here someplace, and then Chen Ho, right in the back. Please stand up, raise your hand. It's from San Jose, brand new member. So we got two new members, which is good. Get that up. Okay, this is my first meeting as a new president, so. Thank you. I haven't done it yet.
You're here.
Yeah, I'm here. Well, I thought I'd mention a couple of goals first. First goal is we want to learn more about orchids.
Yes.
Second goal is we want to enjoy each other's company. We want to enjoy talking to each other, picking each other's brains about what you know and what you don't know, and what somebody else might know that'll help you grow the orchids that you got, or maybe that you want to get. So that's the goal. That's what I think should be the goals of the Orchid Society. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy each other's company. We want to enjoy these beautiful plants. They're gorgeous. I like ferns. There are other plants. I realize that. Okay, I'd like to thank also the officers that have stepped up to run this club. It doesn't take one person or two or three. It takes a whole bunch. And our vice president is Derek Carter House. Derek, wave your hand. Secretary is Carm. Where's Carm? Say it again. Kyvan Hosen. Easy for you to say. Carm Kyvan Hosen is our secretary and show chair. Our treasurer that watches the money carefully is Eugene. Our directors are Alan Yep. Where's Alan? Is Jeff Harris with a G here?
Yes.
Where are you, Jeff?
That's the other.
No,
No, that's Jeff Harris with a J. Come on. Go, Stuart Miniker. There you go. Brianna, is it Croce?
Oh, yeah.
Good, all right. Got past president, Faye Rubino. Is Faye here? No. Okay, membership chair is Heidi. Heidi's out. Where's Heidi? And our show chair, permanent show chair forever is Jeff Harrison. And, you know, really, I mean, Jeff has been invaluable to me in the first few weeks that I've been involved in this. I picked his brain for about an hour today. So maybe you won't. So anyway, it's been very helpful to me to try to figure out how this society is run in the past, so I don't try to change it too much. Anyway, all right, now we've got some announcements on here, which you can read. We'll go through them a little bit. If you need orchiata bark, write this number down. Next.
These are all on the website. So if you go to our website, you can find all this things.
Yeah, we've got a deal with the San Francisco Symphony coming up September 12th, 7:30. Again, it's on the society website. If you want to find the society website without memorizing it's saying, just type San Francisco Orchid Society. We'll give you a link. Okay, next. There's a master's class here, July 16th. How to repot, divide, mount, everything you wanted to know about orchids.
So this is a series from the AOS. If you haven't joined, you should join the AOS, but this one's free for everyone.
Okay. Orchids in the Park's coming up July 27th and 28th. We always need volunteers, so please let us know if you can help. We need everything. Anybody to do anything. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to know anything about orchids. Just have to stand there and make sure somebody doesn't steal one out of the display or walk out without paying for it or do something.
There's a link to volunteer in the newsletter, and also I think there was an email sent out as well. Oh, and then
Next
the
page.
QR.
There's a QR.
Thank you,
code
Leanne.
that takes you to the website.
Nice. Okay, next.
Yeah. volunteer.
From signup.com.
Yeah, signup.com should send the
It should
confirmation.
say, it should.
Check spam.
Okay, now, we've got a new program currently, brand new today. If you bring a plant for display, you'll bring a blooming plant for display, for Oceans to the Park. I'm sorry, Orchids to the Park. You'll get a reward plant. Bring one, get one. Got that? Yeah, really. Okay? Yes, what?
Want to say something about it?
Oh, I used to bring a plant. There was no limit to how many plants you can bring. You can bring a plant.
Yes, question.
What's the deadline for that, like for registering the plan?
It's in the form. Why don't you type in the form right now? Save it. tinyurl.com /OITP 2024 plant. It is super easy to remember. Get more plants.
Also in charge of all the displays.
Okay.
Type in right now.
All right, judging over there in the next room and this is all about judging. Next. Peter Lynn. Peter's here and Derek will introduce Peter. Yes, Steve.
Okay, thank you for driving all the way up. Peter is the owner of Diamond Orchids and been growing orchids for 40 years now. Paused for a little bit to go to school and then started back in about 20 years ago. He's an accredited judge, hybridizer of many cats, but he's got a lot of fun stuff, and Gracums and Dendrobiums and stuff in his small greenhouses in Southern California. Today he's going to talk about compact Vandaceous species and their hybrids. Thank you.
Can you give us some of the likes?
Okay, well, welcome everybody. It's nice to see you all here. My talk tonight is mini compact Vandaceous species and hybrids. And what we're going to look at tonight, we're going to talk about why do you want to grow these mini and compact Vandas. Look at the species, including Neopenicias, Ascocentrum, Hokoblossom, Vanda, and other genera. Now, I will make a caveat that because of the recent moves within the orchid world, a lot of these genera have all been moved to Vanda. I don't like that because when you think of a Vanda, the first thing that comes to your mind is those giant, big flowered Vandas that you see growing from Florida, and the Neopenicias are this tall. So, you know, how can you compare this little species with a species that's this tall? So I like to keep their old names. We'll look at the hybrids that exist, including mini and compact, and then my favorite category is the micro mini. Those of you who know me know that I like miniature orchids, and the smaller the better. I'll talk about culture, how to grow our little mini and compact Vandas. And I'll do a little repotting demonstration via the slides. And then we have time for question and answer. Although I like to hold very informal talks, so if you happen to have a question about a particular plant, slide, photo, just ask it now and then I'll answer it at the same time. Okay, so why do you want to grow compact and mini Vandas? Well, they are small and compact. If you're like me, I'm buying new orchids all the time. But my growing space doesn't get any bigger. So the only way I can add more orchids is if I go smaller. So I I can replace a large orchid plant with 3 or 4 minis and compacts. A lot of them are temperature tolerant, depending on what's in the background of the hybrids. So those of you who are familiar with the large flowered Vandas, they grow well in Florida because they like heat and they like humidity. Well, these mini and compacts are much more tolerant of cooler conditions. I can even grow some of them outside in Southern California where it can get down into the mid-30s. And you cannot do that with a large flowered Vanda. They will succumb very quickly if they're exposed to cold temperatures. The other advantage is that you can grow them potted. If you see the big flowered Vandas growing in Florida, they are usually bare root or in a basket with no media. And oftentimes their roots are 4 or 5 feet long and the top growth is 4 or 5 feet tall. So you need 10 feet of growing space to grow those. With our small and mini compacts, they're usually under a foot tall, and then you can fit them in a 4 or 6 inch pot. So, you know, all the space you need is about right between a foot and a half. Okay, so let's take a look at the species first, because this is where all of our hybrids come from. I'll start off with my favorite orchid species, Vanda species, is Neofinetia faucata. There are literally probably 1,000 or more different varieties of Neofinetia faucata, primarily coming from Japan and Korea. So I've been on the hunt for collecting these Neofinetians. The type species is, as you see here, they typically have white flowers. They have a spur or nectary underneath the flower. They flower in June and sometimes into July. And the really nice thing about this species is that it's extremely fragrant at night. It is pollinated by nocturnal moths, which are attracted by the white flowers as well as the jasmine-like fragrance in the evening. This is a very temperature tolerant orchid. It can snow in its native habitat in Japan and Korea. So I can grow them outside. They take temperatures down to the low 30s and then up to 100 or so on the warm side. There are a couple of color forms, primarily the pink magenta spur form here. And you'll see that there's a name after the species name, and that's because the Japanese give a Japanese name to all of their different varieties. So this one is Shuteno. There's a close-up of the flower. They're very graceful. They can have up to 10 flowers on a single spike, and a single fan can put out 2 to 3 spikes. Here's another pinkish variety. They grow basically only about 6 inches tall, 6 inches wide. The green form, typically called the sweet, pale green with a white lip. And even the colored forms are very fragrant at night as well. There is a yellow form. However, even the Japanese consider the yellow form to be a hybrid. So somewhere back in the history of these orchids, there was probably an ascocentrum, a yellow flowered ascocentrum that was crossed together with the white Neofinetia, and then they crossed them back and forth, selected the best yellow colors, and then you get something like this, which is called variety Kibana. And there's actually, Yellow Dragon is probably one of the best yellow flower varieties, and I happen to sell this particular cultivar, and I have a couple in bloom on the sales table if you're interested. Some other hybrids, probably, you can see a deeply colored reddish pink variety. This is actually from Korea, bred in Korea. The bean leaf form has a little bit different shape of the flower, and the leaves are wide and stocky, so they resemble a bean, like a green bean type of a structure. I have a couple of these on the sale table as well. And then there's a host of variegated leaf forms as well. They typically have white flowers, but you can see the leaves are either edged in white or yellow. Okay, here's a picture in situ, which means what you would find in nature. So this is a very large ginkgo tree. And if you look at the branches, you'll see spots of white on here. And we take a look at a close-up. The branches are literally covered with hundreds of Neophenicia falcata.
Where's that tree?
I think it's in Japan. I don't know for sure, but I believe it's in Japan.
Peter's backyard.
Yeah, in my backyard. That would be a wonderful place to put a swing or a hammock, right? Underneath the fragrant bounty of the orchids. Okay, moving on to some ascocentrums and focal-blossoms. There are a number of miniature species within both of these genera. Ascocentrum garyi is a orange species. The plants grow about 5 or 6 inches tall, about 4 inches wide. The flowers are small, but you can see there's a lot of flowers on a single spike. Ascocentrum ampullaceum, typically pink, but there's also a white form and then an orange form. Ascocentrum curvifolia. These typically have red-orange flowers. And there's one of these on the opportunity table. Ascocentrum aurantiacum. Aurantiaca means orange. Ascocentrum christiansonianum. This has multitudes of small pink flowers. There's one of these on the opportunity table. Ascocentrum pusillum, now renamed Vanda nana, which also means tiny. Both pusillum and nana mean tiny. And it is one of the smallest of the Vandaceous species. The plants grow about 3 inches tall. Focal-blossom, this is flavescens. This comes from Taiwan. You can see my hand there to show you the scale of the plant. It's a tiny little plant, maybe 3 to 4 inches across and tall.
China.
China? Okay. Actually, yeah, you're right. Most of the hope blossoms do come from China. Hope blossom rupestre. This one has a nice fragrance, smells like coconut. Hope blossom fongii. This is a newer introduction from Vietnam. It has green flowers. It was introduced in 2016. And I made the first hybrid with this particular species, which we'll see a little later down in the hybrid section. Hocoblossom amesianum. This literally has one of the most fragrant flowers in the orchid world. It's typically a coolish intermediate grower. Can form a large branching spike with maybe 25 or 35 flowers. And it smells like jasmine. It's really, really fragrant. Hocoblossom pumilum. This used to be an ascocentrum. They moved it to Hocoblossom. And it is the tiniest. It's 2 inches tall. It forms copious amounts of flowers. So when we see the micro mini Vanda hybrids, this is usually a parent creating those micro minis. Other mini and compact species, Vanda cristata happens to be a favorite of mine. It starts flowering when it's only about 6 inches tall. The flowers are green and it's that red lip with the forked tongues at the end. And it's a cool intermediate grower, wonderful for making these temperature tolerant hybrids. You cross this with a warm grower, you get a hybrid that can tolerate both the cold and the heat. It usually forms multiple spikes. The spikes have 3 to 4 flowers per spike, but one fan can put out 3 to 5 spikes. The next species is Vanda longitudinale. So this particular species was shown at the Santa Barbara Orchid Show in 1981. It received a first-class certificate with the American Orchid Society because it was so much bigger and grander than all the other cristatas that they've seen. Well, the reason why is because it was not a cristata. It was actually a new species called Vanda longitudinale. In 2008, Robert Gardner and Martin Motes named this particular species. It comes from northern Myanmar at about 4,000 feet elevation. So again, it's a cool intermediate grower. So here's the plant here. You can see that if you saw this as a cristata, you're like, wow, that thing is huge. It's got a lip that's twice the size of a cristata. And so the next slide actually shows you the comparison. Oh, no, sorry. Here's another picture of the longitudinale. This shows you the comparison between the two. And that's almost scale to scale. So the longitudinale on the left is almost twice the size of a cristata. So you can see why the judges might have thought that this is the best cristata that they had ever seen. Well, it was because it's a different species. Christiansonia vietnamica, you can tell it comes from Vietnam because of the name. It's a little miniature species that starts blooming when it's only about 4 inches tall. It has green flowers with a pale white lip. And there's one of these on the opportunity table. Some Rhinanthus. Now, typically Rhinanthus are known for their giant size. Some of them can be 4 to 6 feet tall. There are a couple of species that start blooming when they're only about 8 inches tall. This is Rhinanthus citrina, also from Vietnam. It has yellow flowers with red spots. Rhinanthera monachica. This also starts blooming when it's quite small. It has orange flowers with red spots. Sederia japonica. From the name japonica, this comes from Japan. So that's hence the name. Now, believe it or not, this is now moved to a phalaenopsis.
Yes.
And yet, there are so few hybrids between Sederia and phalaenopsis. And when you see the plant and the flowers don't really look like a phalaenopsis. It's also a cool to intermediate grower. It has a wonderful fragrance. So nice that the Japanese actually did a chemical analysis of the fragrance so that they could reproduce it as a perfume. Is that lovely of a fragrance? So on a mature plant, you can expect 3 to 4 spikes. Each spike can have up to 15 flowers on it.
Why did they decide it was
The question is, why do they decide to move it to phalaenopsis? Well, all the recent moves between Cattleyas, Oncidiums, Odontoglossums, and all these Vanda things is because they do DNA analysis on them. In the old days, they had nothing to determine the genera of the species except from a visual look of the flower or the number of pollen that the flower contains. And they looked for similar characteristics in order to group the plants. Well, nowadays, because of technology, they can actually do microscopic analysis of the DNA. And so they're saying, well, the DNA is so similar between Sederia and Phalaenopsis, it should be moved to Phalaenopsis. That's their reasoning. Okay, Trichoglottis pusilla. Remember, pusilla or pusillum means tiny, and this indeed is a very tiny species. Grows only 2 to 3 inches tall at the max. It has a wonderful fragrance of vanilla and, well, mainly vanilla. It has these cute little cream flowers with the little red purple stripes. We'll see a hybrid with this a little later on. It's the only known hybrids with this particular plant. I have tried to make crosses with it, but have failed. I've never gotten seed pods. Okay, another favorite miniature of mine is Ceratochylis biglandulosus. Really long name, big name for a tiny little plant. So this plant again is maybe 2 inches tall, and the flowers are huge compared to the size of the plant. I actually crossed this with the Trichoglottis pusilla, and nothing took. In fact, they've now moved this to Trichoglottis. A friend of mine in Australia did make a cross with this and was successful. So I'll keep trying, but it's a really cute thing.
What is the condition? Where is this from? Did you say?
It's from Asia somewhere. I'm not really sure what country.
Keep it warm.
I think it's cool.
I grew this outside.
Yeah, I think it's a cool grower. You think it's Indonesia? Probably either Indonesia, Java, or one of those places. Schenorchis fragrans. Again, a micro mini. The plants are only 1 inch, 2 inches tall. There's my little fingers there to show you the scale of the plant. On a larger size plant, you get a lot of flowers. And to date, there have been no hybrids with this particular plant. Okay, so now we've seen the species. Now let's take a look at the hybrids that the breeders have been busy with. So the first thing they did was Neopanetia falcata is very amenable to crossing with almost every member of the Vanda alliance. And so we'll see a lot of these hybrids here. Ascophanetia cherry blossom, this is falcata with Ascocentrum ampullaceum. So now we get color introduced into our flowers. So that's a 3-inch pot. The plant's only about 3 inches tall. This is Kaori. This is a back cross of cherry blossom back onto falcata. And I think I have a plant of this on the sale table. Ascophanetia peaches. This is with Ascocentrum purvifolium. So we're getting a lot of color introduced to these Neopanetia hybrids now. Ascophanetia twinkle, this is with Ascocentrum garies. Moonlight firefly, this is twinkle back onto falcata. And this is a nice hybrid, it blooms 2 or 3 times a year. Ascophanetia A.F. Buckman, this is falcata crossed with Ascocentrum christiansonianum. A lot of small flowers. Neostylus pinky. So now we have hybrids with falcata and Rincostylus. And this one is with Rincostylus gigantea. There are several color forms to gigantea. So here we have the white colored form of the hybrid. Now it's a really good combination of the 2 species. Neopanetia falcata can be a cool grower. Gigantea is a warm grower. So we cross the 2 together, we have a very temperature tolerant hybrid. Very fragrant as well, as both species are fragrant. This is the dark magenta form, using the magenta form of Gigantea. And then some of my favorites are the spotted forms, using Wrinkle-Stylus Gigantea, either cartoon or the spotted variety. Here's a couple clones that were made of Pinky. The top one is Starry Night, the one on the left is New Star. Now they used this Pinky and made other hybrids with it. So they used Pinky, crossed it to the yellow Falcata. Pinky by Ascocentrum ampullaceum. Neostylus lucneri is Falcata by Wrinkle-Stylus caelestes. And again, there's three versions of color. There's the pink, white, and then the tipped form. And then probably the most famous of them all is the variety Bluebird that has the blue lips. Bless you. Really wonderful hybrid. It's very fragrant, temperature tolerant. It usually blooms twice a year. Okay, this is a newer hybrid coming from Taiwan, which is why it's called TSS Taiwan Ganbarva. This is lucneri that crossed to Wrinkle-Stylus Gigantea. Very fragrant flowers, and it has the bluish spots. Darwinar Charm Blue Star. This is a famous parent, looking very much like a bluish Falcata. Rainbow Stars. This is Charm crossed to Neophenicia Falcata. I actually named this one because the originator is unknown. Probably somebody in Japan made this hybrid. And I called it Rainbow Stars because all four of these colors came from the same Rex.
From the same individual Rex?
Yes.
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah. This is a yellow selection. Darwinar Deep Blue Seas is Charm crossed to Ascocentrum christiansonianum. They named it Blue Seas because of the bluish color, but they didn't know that it also bloomed out pink. Deep blue pink seeds. Rhanetia Sunrise. So now we have crosses with Falcata and Rhinanthera. In this case, Rhinanthera imshutiana. So we have fiery orange color coming from the Rhinanthera on a very dwarf plant. Is it fragrant? No. Most Rhinanthera species are not fragrant. So oftentimes when you cross a fragrant with a non-fragrant, you're more likely to get non-fragrant children. This is Maui Mini's Freckles. This is Falcata with Rhinanthera motachica, hence the little freckle spots on there. Vanda Phoenicia Virgil, Falcata with Vanda cristata. You can see that cristata lip coming through. The red stripes coming from cristata. Darwinar Walnut Valley, this is Charm crossed with Virgil. So we get second and third generation hybrids now. Still showing that cristata lip coming through. Nakamoto Ara Newberry Apricot. This is Virgil crossed to Ascocentrum curvifolium. Vanda Phoenicia Newberry Lemon Drops. Virgil by Bill Burke. Again, that cristata lip is coming through. That's a 4-inch pot. Nakamoto Ara Jean de Vilhi. This is the famous Ascasenda Yipsum cross to Euphoenisha falcata. It's very curious because it has orange flowers, but the spur is pink. So an unusual combination. Ascasenda rumril. This is Curvifolium by cristata. And I have one here. Okay. Now we have one of my hybrids. This is rumril crossed to Vanda longitudinale. One bloomed out yellow, but most of them bloomed out with orange and red lips. Vanda Moats Ruby Pixie, cristata by Vanda Testacia. My hybrid, this is Neostylus Dragon's Tongue. This was probably one of my first mini Vanda hybrids. I got one flask back from the lab with 12 seedlings. I was so disappointed because I'm like, I make a cross and I expect, 100 plants or so from the cross. But when the first one bloomed, I was very happy because it bloomed in a 2-inch pot with very large flowers. They were white with these purple spots and that blood red tongue or lip, which is why I call it dragon's tongue. The following year, it looked like this. And I've remade this hybrid 6 times, and I've yet to get any seedlings.
Oh, wow.
6 times I've remade the cross.
Are you doing any sip crossing?
No. That's a good question. She asked if I do SIP crosses. My thinking is that when you have an intergeneric hybrid, it is probably better to remake the hybrid than to try and self or cross the two together, because you now have a complex hybrid between 2 different genera versus making the original cross is less complicated. But it might be worth a try since I have no success remaking the hybrid.
We want babies.
What are the parents of dragon pouch?
It's Pinky by Vanda longitudinale. Here's another one of the 12 seedlings. I call this Fire and Ice. Okay, Dragon's Talon. So this was another attempt to make something similar. This is Pinky by Vanda cristata. Remember the smaller form versus the longitudinale, which was the larger form. So it wasn't near as good, but it's still a cute little hybrid. And I did get 5 flasks back from this cross. Dragon's Eye, this is another one of my hybrids. You can see the little theme I have going on. I named all my Vanda hybrids with dragon something or other. So this is Charm by cristata. And these were 2 of the first bloom seedlings. And then I selected these 2 that were really good. Really dark colors. Not much fragrance. That's Fred Clark's greenhouse, which is where I grow most of my plants. Yeah, those are not all Vanda seedlings. I wish. Anyways, I made a similar hybrid now between Charm and longitudinale. So I'm hoping for good things coming out of that cross. Rinko Vanda Freckles, this is one of my hybrids. This is A.F. Buckman by Rinko Gigantea. I think this was the first to bloom on the left, that's why I called it freckles. But most of them bloom without the freckles. Hocal diarrhea, newberry jasmine. This is probably the most fragrant orchid hybrid. This is Sideria japonica with Hocoglossum anziana. So fragrant. I remade this cross, got one flask back, in 5 seeds. Wrinkle diarrhea, dragon charming. This is gigantea with Sideria japonica. Very fragrant as well. Rhynchonopsis cadaris kitten. I saw this in Taiwan at the Taiwan International Orchid Show. This is Rhynchonopsis cherie by Sideria japonica. Vandopyrea little one. So this is, I got this from a Japanese vendor, bloomed it, and I'm like, wow, that is really interesting. Yellow flowers with little leopard spots. And I finally figured out what it was. It's a hybrid between Sideria japonica and Vandopsis parishii. So I made a hybrid of little one back onto Sideria japonica, not knowing that 2 other people in the world made the same hybrid. So the hybrid was named in Germany. They named it Many Sandy because he bloomed it first. So when you make a hybrid, in order to register the hybrid, you normally have to bloom the hybrid, and then you can register it with the RHS, the Royal Horticultural Society. But these are some seedlings that bloomed from the cross. So even though I didn't get to name the cross, I was still happy with the results. Here's another one here. This is a hybrid that I saw on the internet. This is Sideria japonica with Renanthera citrina. Quite the unusual pairing. Phalaenopsis and Sideria? Or with Renanthera? They have made some limited hybrids with Phalaenopsis. It's not always fertile, and the results are not always that desirable. With the Sideria? No, there's been very limited hybrids between novelty Phalaenopsis. Hocoglossum. This is a hybrid between Pumilum, Hocoglossum pumilum, and Hocoglossum wangii. Cute little thing. That's a 2-inch pot. Blooms with a lot of flowers. There it is a year later. Focustylus pink yawi. This is pink Jenny, which we just saw across to gigantea. A lot of these hybrids are coming out of Taiwan. There's a couple breeders in Taiwan that like to specialize in making these intergeneric hybrids. Focustylus blue Jenny, also from Taiwan. Blue Sneery by Magic Jenny. And the flowers do have that blue color.
Are they shiny like that?
Yeah, they're a
Enamel
little,
kind of?
little waxy, sharp, glossy color texture. Focustylus in the sunlight, also coming from Taiwan. This is flavescens with gigantea. Interesting enough, almost all of them came out white with colored lips, even though they used the magenta or purple form of gigantea. But the flavescens really took down the size of the plant. This was actually a little bit of an abnormal seedling, favoring the Rhynchostylus side. So sometimes when you make a hybrid, the genetics are not always half-half. So in this case, I think it's 25% Hocoglossum and 75% Rhynchostylus. It's just one out of the whole batch.
Question.
Yes.
Such a small plant, softer from many flowers. I mean, where's the energy?
So the question is, how does a small plant like this produce so many flowers? Where does the energy come from? Well, it's the combination of the two parents, right? Because Bricostylus gigantea has a lot of flowers, almost like a foxtail spike. And so it inherits that side of the parentage. So the plant can put out a lot of flowers. Well, that's nature, right? Gee. That's the fun of breeding. We're always trying to capture the best characteristics of both parents into the children. Horridostylus TLDC shy virgin, another hybrid coming from Taiwan. Doesn't have the, I mean, Horridostylus almost sounds like a disease.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why they call it shy virgin. But anyway, this cute little thing. It's primarily white with a purple lip. This is some new hybrids coming out of Thailand. They like to use Opoglossum rupestre. This is with curvifolium. Vandoglossum lemon drop. This is rupestre with Gary. Vandoglossum parablossom. This is with rupestre and Christiansoniana. Vandoglossum apple blossom. This is actually my hybrid. Pink Jenny with A.F. Buckman. Rupestre by Renanthera monachica. I was actually surprised with this particular hybrid because it really got the best of both parents. Bright yellow flowers. Remember I said rupestre tends to be very dominant. Everything turns out white. But for some reason in this hybrid, the yellow came through from monachica. And these are first bloom seedlings. Now they're the second year they're blooming with 2 or 3 spikes per plant. Vandoglossum alexandra. This is flavescens with cerulescens. Or actually rupestre, not cerulescens. Pocodirea Glen Lair, flavescens by Sideria japonica. Little mini thing, with about 3 inches across. Ochinopsis Yawey's little Eric. So here's flavescens with Phalaenopsis philippinensis. Unusual hybrid. Ochinopsis ping tongue belt. Another Phalaenopsis cross with Opoglossum. This was bred in Taiwan. And again, it got the best of both parents.
Is it intermediate grower?
Yes, it would be intermediate. You know, Phalaenopsis are warm growers. Opoglossum wangii is a cool grower. You get something in between. Opoglossum or Oca Verus with Sidon Fadenia mitrata. Vanstylus ping pong. This is one of my hybrids. This is the first hybrid using Opoglossum wangii, a new species from Vietnam. Very pleased with the results. Here again, the Opoglossum was recessive in terms of the color suppression. The spots came through from pinky. The seedlings were very uniform. They mostly bloomed with white with purple spots. Last year, I got my first award of quality on this hybrid. In order to get an award of quality, you have to submit 12 blooming plants to the judges. And that's not always easy to get 12 plants to bloom at the same time. Micro mini Vandas. So now we get the smallest ones. The first one is an old-time hybrid coming from Japan. This is Phoca Verus. So the plant is 3 inches tall. blooms 2 or 3 times a year. My first hybrid is Daranara Itty Bitty. This is Charm crossed to Polkaglossum pululum. Very pleased with the results. I think next picture shows you the scale. 2-inch pot, 3 inches tall. Polkaglossum rupestre by Ascocentrum fusilum. Again, a 2-inch pot. Peruse by Ascocentrum fusilum. Charm by fusilum. Flavescens by Neoponetia falcata. This is a hybrid coming out of Japan. I mentioned Trichoglass pusilla. This is the only hybrid that's out there. This is Monachica, Renanthera monachica by Trichoglass pusilla. It started blooming when it was only 3 inches tall. This one is almost never out of bloom. I would say it blooms 6 times a year. These are 2 hybrids that I saw on the internet. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Unfortunately, we don't know what the parents are. The person posting them would not divulge. Here's another one. I figure there's probably Polkaglossum flavescens in the background.
Here,
Yes.
is that out of Thailand?
I think these were from Thailand. Okay, so now we've seen all these lovely mini and compact Vandas. How do you grow them? Where did you grow these things? So we are lucky to be in California where we can grow a lot of our orchids outside. Even if it's for not all the year, you can grow them outside. You can grow them inside if you have a very, very bright windowsill. And they'll also perform beautifully under lights, especially the new LED types of light. Of course, if you have a greenhouse, they'll grow very well in the greenhouse. In terms of light, they are medium light growers. They're not as demanding as the large flowered Vandas. Temperature-wise, most of them are temperature tolerant. Low 40s to 100 degrees. That means if you do grow your orchids outside, you can leave them out almost like 10 months out of the year, probably. Humidity and air circulation, they're not as demanding with humidity. They do like a good amount of air circulation. If you're growing outside, that's not usually a problem, but if you're growing inside the house or greenhouse, a gentle fan to circulate the air is always helpful. In terms of water, it depends on how you're growing them. If you're growing them potted with bark mix or something like that, which is how I grow most of my mini Vandas, I only have to water them once a week, maybe twice a week in the summertime. If you're growing them bare root, you have to water them once a day, even twice a day. So there's a lot of advantage of growing them in pots. In terms of pests and disease, they're fairly resistant to pests and disease. Primary pests might be mealybugs. They like to get into the crown of the plant. And then disease-wise, occasionally you might have rot problems, especially in the center of the growing point. But the good news with the Vanda types is that if you lose the terminal or the center growth, typically you'll have basal plantlets form at the base of the plant. So you usually do not lose the plant, even though you may lose the center growing point.
Peter, do they need any kind of dry period?
Dry period?
Yeah.
Not really. I don't think any of them require a strict dry period. However, in the winter, I always water less. Almost for all my orchids, I water less, unless they're, pleuravalids or other types of things that don't have water storage. But I generally water less in the winter. In terms of potting medium, they'll grow in just about anything. I use bark and perlite as a mix. You want to do bark and charcoal or rock and clay pellets and things like that. They'll grow about just about anything. You can grow them in empty baskets if you want, but we'll have to water more often. You can also grow them mounted, like mounted plants. Excuse me. Some water here.
You have the ifs and whys when it comes to some of the stuff. So, do you see any crossings with the standard Vandas?
Not really with the big flowered hybrids. They do use Vanda cerulean as a parent with these mini things. They do use Vanda cristata a lot to dwarf the plant. So there have been hybrids between big, large flowered Vandas and the Vanda cristatas.
Besides that,
Neo-Phoenicia hybrids can flower twice a year. But you know, most orchids only flower once a year. So in terms of repotting, which is my last section, how do you repot your Vanda orchids? Now, the good thing about Vandas is they're not as picky as other orchids like Cattleyas, where you only repot when you see new roots form. Vandas are a little bit more tolerant of repotting at any time, except for maybe the winter. You know, winter is probably not good to repot any of our orchids. Typically, the plants do form a lot of aerial roots. You know, there's roots in the pot, and there's also roots on the outside. And if you're like me, I don't like to have roots on the outside because inevitably those roots will grow into a neighboring pot. And soon you'll have a tangled mess, right? So I like to try and contain my roots back into the pot. So here's the pot taken off, and you can see there's a nice root ball inside the pot as well as the outside roots. Now, in order to try and get the roots contained again, I water the roots so they become much more pliable. If they're dry, they'll just break. So here you see, when I wet the roots, they actually turn green, showing that there's actually chlorophyll in the roots. But now I'm able to wrap the roots around, and I can stick them in the pot. Now, typically, a lot of times people say that the outside roots will not grow if they're covered, because their whole life they've been used to being outside of any mix. So in that case, what I would do is I would just repot this plant in a bigger pot without any media. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I did put the roots all into the pot, into a bigger pot, and then, you know, tamp the mix down. I make sure I relabel every plant. Nothing worse than putting the plant back into its growing area and thinking you're going to remember what it is. They all look alike when they're not. You're admitting to this issue. There's nothing worse than annoyed, right? Annoying. This is the last photos of my house of mini Vandas. So this is an outdoor structure that I built over the weekend. It's 8 feet long and about 4 feet deep, and covered with greenhouse grade plastic. There's aluminum shade cloth that comes over the front, and there's all my collection of Neo-Phoenicia from this paper thing. It's safe outside all year round. There's no heating or cooling in this particular shade house. If you want to learn more, I've actually written 2 feature-length articles. One in the Orchids magazine, August 2012, Orchid Digest 2017. I always encourage you to join the American Orchid Society and the Orchid Digest. They're both wonderful publications and great to be a member of. My website is diamondorchids.com in case you wanted to learn a little bit more about me. You can also contact me through the website, as well as my email is lynn.petert, as in Tom, @yahoo.com. The T is there because there are actually 2 Peter Lynns in the orchid world. The other Peter Lynn grows mainly Phalaenopsis and Paps, and he lives in Texas. We've actually met a number of times. Most recently, we met at the Taiwan World Orchid Conference. So I'm older than him, so I always say I'm the original. But I always say my name is Peter T. then, so that hopefully it helps. But I can tell you every day on Facebook or email, there's somebody that's confusing me with the other people name. Question?
I asked if you look alike.
Well, we're both Chinese, so, you know, to the American eyes or the, your quotes, we all look alike, right? He's shorter than me, he's younger than me, so he does look a little bit different. One of these days, I should put a picture of the two of us in this presentation. Yes?
You said you prefer potting buds.
Uh-huh.
Can you comment a little bit about the Japanese style of the mossing?
Sure.
Because then they care about the roots being on the outside.
Yeah, so Jeff's question is about the traditional way of growing Neoplasia baccata, which is in a sphagnum moss mound in a pot. There are many traditionalists who like to only grow Neoplasia baccata in the moss mound. When I first started growing Neoplasias, I did the moss mound. It is a little bit tedious in terms of re-mossing the plant. It can be a little bit more expensive because the moss is imported from New Zealand. And when I started to get several hundred Neoplasias, I realized it would take me a year to remoss all my plants. So that's why I grow them mainly in bark. However, when I exhibit at the Neoplasia shows, I will take the plant out of the bark and moss it and present it in the traditional hand painted pot. Because it's not allowed to exhibit for judging in the Japanese style in any kind of.
Do they allow you to
clay
trim
pot.
roots, or do you have to be?
Well, the roots, they prefer the roots to be covered in the moss. They don't like to see roots on the outside.
And don't forget how much those pots cost.
Yes, the pots can be more expensive than the plants themselves.
What about the colored varieties?
The colored root varieties are potted so that the emerging roots are on the outside. So yes, they do like to see the ruby root, red root tips. I mean, I actually have a whole presentation on just Neoplasia baccata and the Japanese method of cultivation. There is a large group on Facebook. They're all friends of mine. We all talk about neos like they're our children. And we always ooh and ah over each other's things. I will tell you that there are certain cultivars that will sell for $20,000 for one fang. So it's like the orchids of the art world. Yes, so at the Cal Orchid Summer Hummer event, we have had Japanese style Neoplasia judging for the last 10 years. So we're going to have it again. It's the third weekend in July in the lovely Santa Barbara. So if you're game to take a little side trip.
Generally when they're blooming.
So the question is generally when they're blooming. Actually, the national show in Japan is held in May, and there is not a stitch in bloom. They do not judge their plants in bloom. The Eastern style of judging orchids is totally different than the Western world. They value every part of the plant and the pot and the presentation. From the shape of the leaves, from the shape of the leaf joins the stem, the color of the roots, the moss mound, all this stuff. So when I go to the show, I've been to their Japanese national show 4 times now. Just pot of plants without any flowers. So very different. Okay, all right, thank you very much.
All right, we're gonna take a break now for everybody to get a chance to buy tickets. Tickets are sale, six tickets for $5, 12 for 10, 18 for whatever.
You do the math.
Yeah, you do that.
It'll have some.
There is some newsletter also, they're also, do you get this invite? You don't get the email? You guys, you're out on it now, yeah.
I don't know.
But it's all girls, when I created it. Yeah, so if you go. That was a long one. I'll get Josh to give
Peter? Yes. Well, let's start. With pleasure. I'll make sure I see that, What's it called?
But yeah, for some reason he kills all.
Oh my God. It'll be so proud. They actually had, and great time.
Chuck, Chuck, break's over. Okay, step away from the table. We'll have it on. Have a seat, folks. Okay. I'm turning it over to Kate Bloom, and she's going to do the email show and tell. So these are the Zoomers.
We can cut the lights.
Well, while she's doing that, one more thing that I want to bring up. I would like somebody, if somebody's interested in being a refreshment chair, I would love to have somebody who wants to be a
Let's not
refreshment
do
chair.
refreshments at all.
So, please see me, now or sometime this evening, if you're interested in being a refreshment chair. Thank you.
Okay. Wow, it's a different. Okay, Jonathan Bond sends us his pictures of the Cattleya purpurata. Used to be a Laelia, and its name is Johnny Be Good. So it has a very nice flowering now. Here's Jonathan's Dracula radiosa. It's a nice dark almost black flower on that, and it likes it cold and damp. This is Jonathan's Masdevallia Ziegler's Love Pink Profusion. Ziegler's Love has 9 different Masdevallia species in its background, and they all seem to be really nice. This one is blooming well. This is my Bubblefellum Tronchettii, which is named after the man whose backyard it was growing in, Mr. Tronquet in Vietnam. It's an intermediate grower, likes it humid as well. Next one is my Forsythia citrina, which is, that's underneath the back stairs outside at my house. This is where it lives. And I think I have 4 plants. Only 2 of them produced 1 flower each this year. Last year, none of them bloomed at all. So this is an improvement. It's a Mexican species. Okay, and then we've got the Silagene tomentosa, which has naturalized itself on the bench of the intermediate greenhouse. And the Silagenes are from Southeast Asia.
Is the tongue really frilly like that? Or is that just a...
No, yeah, it really is. And actually tomentosa means felty, as in felt fabric. So, which doesn't exactly make sense to me, but yeah, it is. Then here's Jeff Harris's Dryadella edwallii, another a Masdevallia relative from South America. And Jeff's Masdevallia Pat Ackerhurst, which is a Ignea cross. Nice orange stripes. And Jeff's Phalaenopsis hybrid. There are 92 species of Phalaenopsis and 34,000 hybrids, so we don't know which one this is. And Jeff's Dendrobium wassellii, which is a, well, you're growing that warm. I thought it was more of a cool grower. Anyway, yours is blooming, so that's good. It's from one of those Australian dendrobiums. Here's Jeff's Dendrobium hercoglossum, blooming like crazy. And if you do the next one, here's Stewart's. I found it really interesting, the color. The two of you are the photos. Is the color true in the photo?
No, mine is a little bit more purple, the real colors. A little bit more.
Okay, so they're more alike. Yeah, because I was really struck by the difference in the color on these two. And they're dendrobiums, so they're from Southeast Asia. Here again, a beautiful farmeri, lots and lots of flowers on that. It's beautiful. That one needs a dry rest, doesn't it? Yeah, dry winter rest. And here's Mobophyllum nasica.
How big is that?
Flowers about 5 millimeters across.
Yeah, little plant. And Stewart's Alisara stellar hoku. Alisara is complex hybrid of Brassia miltonia and Oncidium. Make beautiful flowers. And here's Judy Chu's Neophoenicia falcata Tamacongo. And she said bean leaf. I had to look it up, and Peter came and explained it all to us what that means. Judy's Phalaenopsis Mitterland Chambe, which is a complex hybrid, but it's half Bellina, which you can kind of see in the way the shading is on the petals there. And then Dave Hermeyer sends us a picture of his Leptodes bicolor blooming like crazy. Leptodes are New World orchids that start in Paraguay and go on down into southern Brazil. Then Dave's Dendrobium cruciflorum, another dendrobium that blooms like crazy when it blooms. Flowers don't last for a long time, but they sure make a good show. And Dave's Vandas Renaissance. Jan's Cattleya purpurata variety sanguinea, Jim's choice. And Jan's Thunia. Does anybody know which Thunia this is? I know it's not Thunia alba because I have that. It doesn't look like
It's
that.
Gatsanesa. Yeah.
Gatsanesa.
I found the tag out there. I sent the photo.
And is it a Southeast Asian plant too?
Is it what?
Southeast Asian, you know?
I'm not sure. I bought it from somebody in the group at POE a year ago. February, and I had one bloom on it the first time, and this time I've got 2 spikes.
Yeah, it's really good. And Dan's Prospectia prismaticarpum, which is blooming like crazy too. It's beautiful. I have to talk to you about how you get that to bloom. I have like 3 and they don't bloom. So that's the, oh,
I added a couple this afternoon.
you snuck them in. I didn't see these.
So
What is this? Pleurophalis, oh, Nivea globula. I love it. Little snowball.
I took a picture of it under the microscope. I just wanted to, there's an orange there, and then if you can see the little white dot, I zoomed in there. That's actually.
Yeah, you know, Nivea globula means snowball. I think, yeah, that's cute. And what else have you got? Oh,
And then my little micro ingracum. So that's my fingernail in the background. So you can see
Wow.
there's probably 40 flowers that you wouldn't know were there.
okay. Any more?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Kay.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, we're gonna cut off the Zoomers at this point. We're gonna do the not gonna cut off the Zoomers.
But does someone have a phone? Do you have a phone or?
Yeah, but it's always I'll try.
All right.
It's my first time.
I'm signed out. Do you?
We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have phones.
Okay, if you are at home, go to Jeff and right click and pull him so you can see the video.
I know, I'm trying to figure out how to flip it. I'll flip it the other way. Yep. All right. These were in the. These are ones that I already showed.
By the way,
That's just the day I found it for him, that's one, right.
yeah.
Are you guys ready to start?
Started.
We can't hear you.
Louder, please, you have to be quiet.
Yeah.
Still can't hear
You want me to, I have a very loud. Do you want me to?
Got this up more?
Where's the microphone? It's over there, right?
Okay, so I need a microphone probably.
No, just project over there.
Okay, so this one is from Jeff, Jeff Harris, Scapocephalum sweatiofolium. I can't read your writing, sorry.
Word volume. That's good enough.
Oh, okay. That one is really, really cute.
These were all
Okay, so these are, then Jeff Harris, you already showed this one. Oh, this one.
This was not.
Okay. So then this one is Jack Harris. Oh my, I can't, sorry, I can't read your writing. Typical doctor. Typical doctor.
It's Mysticidum capensis. It's an African species.
This
There's
is
a couple of
theirs.
those.
Sorry, I'm unable to read doctor's handwriting. I'm a nurse.
Same one, that's theirs.
Okay, Mysticidum capensis, yeah.
This is theirs.
Oh, yes, this one. Jumelia confusa, snowflake with an HCCAOS. That was so cool. Did you already show them that?
They were.
Oh, they were on the.
This one from Phyllis is really cool. I don't know exactly what kind of Monsignor it is. So if anyone knows, I haven't seen it. Does anyone know what kind of Monsignor it is? It's unusual.
All right, then we have from Peter Gianciano. We have a path Colosum pygmy, super cute. And then same from Peter, a path with, not sure.
I have no idea what species it is, so if
Yeah.
anybody knows, let me know. I've
And
had it
I'm
for
sorry,
years.
can you actually even hear me? I'm sorry, I'm talking to here. Okay, yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, and then, Chen Haosu, is a path hybrid, beautiful green one, Maldives. Josh Hewins, he has Masdevallia, Nisasai,
There's a spike behind you.
so cool looking. Love that. Do you have that growing inside? Outside. Okay, and then, Chen Hao, Dendrobium monophyllum. Little cutie pie on a stick. This one's for me. This is a Neophoenicia falcata. I forget, like two different falcatas blended together from Woodstock and Time. And then this, it smells really good if you want to smell it. And then this is the really stinky orchids, and this is Bulbophyllum levenae, also known as the dog poop orchid. It literally smells like dog poop when you put your nose in it.
Why would you do that?
And then Kay brought us Gracia variecosa, which actually has a fragrance as well. Beautiful spidery Gracia. And then Kay also brought us a Costa. Thank you.
Butcher it.
Yeah, I know. Well, Mitch isn't here anymore, so I thought I'd, really bring up the old butchering.
Yeah, that's what's called a specimen plant.
Pretty big.
It's amazing, and it has a bit of a fragrance as well.
Yeah.
Then Kay also brought us a little show of a looks like right? What does it say? Is it Ryo? Rip blossom, Milari, Phalaenopsis diformis, and Arangus distincta. So Arangus is just Alright, and then Kay also brought us another Prostechia, sorry, okay,
No, it's okay.
Maliensis and and Iridiata.
This is really.
Oh, the other one is a Polystachya. Polystachya is from East Africa.
All right, and then Sharon, Palmisano, okay. Prostechia green hornet, also fragrant, very cool looking. And then Sharon also brought us the Chlorophyllus triloides. Oh, okay, sorry.
It's got little lobster claws.
Sorry, I think I've worked too much in computers, I can't read handwriting anymore. And then, who is this from? Oh, Jan. Either a Grassocatlia or a Grassolalia golden tang. Beautiful color on that.
That comes up red, but usually it changes to the yellow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Overlaid with red.
That's
So you
dark.
find the photo.
It's gorgeous. And then did we get the one back here? This
No.
beautiful display here.
Is that here?
So that's from Paula Chu,
Yes.
and I can't read the tag.
It's little black samba.
So far,
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It was named by a million-year-old Australian guy, okay, he didn't know anything.
I would think so.
you're not allowed to say it.
I would think so.
It's a great.
So that's actually growing in a 4-inch pot. If you look
Wow.
down that pot, so it really likes to be pot bound.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
How long does it?
And it smells fantastic.
Oh, does it?
I never noticed there's more this year, how good it smells.
How long does it?
Even
How long does it stay for?
Tag me, or what, I'm turning it off.
I can't.
Okay, thank you everyone online.
Sorry.
Bye-bye.
I'm having